What's up YouTube, it's Adam from I'm a Music Mogul, and welcome to part 6 of making a track in Logic Pro. So far we got our verse down. Now we're going to go ahead and do the pre-chorus. In the pre-chorus I'm going to set to another 8 bars. So I'm just going to drag this out to 8 bar length, and I'm simply just going to copy over all this data. So I'm going to hold down the Option key, click and drag. And in this time, I am not going to copy the automation because I don't want to have that build up in my pre-chorus. In fact, I'm actually going to delete these drums that I created for the verse, because we're going to create a different set of drums, and let's do that right now. I'm going to create a new software instrument track, or track in general, and I'm going to create a drum machine, and we are going to use the electro. Let me see what different electrical. I believe it's electro bump. Alright, so let's go ahead and record our drums for our pre-chorus. I'm just going to drag this over here. Ooh. Set my cycle range. I'm going to hit record, and we're just going to record our main kick drum. There is our main kick drum. I'm just going to quantize that to 8 notes because it's nothing exciting. And I'm just going to play back a little bit to see how the change happens. Okay, it's a little too drastic. So I'm going to copy this over here. Let's move this down here. I'm going to copy this drum beat to the verse as well, and I'm going to apply all the same effects we did in the other drum kit. So I'm going to go to channel EQ, I'm going to go to EQ, single band EQ, stereo, and we are going to do a high cut at 1000. Hit A to bring down your automation window, and I'm just going to do the same volume automation on this track. Now I like to create new tracks for every different element of my track rather than keeping it all on one track, just for organization for myself. It makes things a little bit easier to work with. Okay, so that's a little bit better because you got that driving beat on those quarter notes to hit. Alright, so let's go ahead and bring in some cello just to switch up our song a little bit. Remember, every 8 bars we kind of want to add an element or take away an element. And in this case, I don't have a lot of elements to take away, so I'm going to go ahead and add some cellos. As in popular music, there's usually a set of strings in there. So I'm going to go create a new software instrument track. Hit create. I'm going to go to orchestral, strings, and cello. I'm just going to go ahead and hit play and just kind of figure out what I'm going to do with it. Okay, so let's go ahead and record that. Alright, so we got our cellos recorded. Going to go ahead and quantize that to 8 notes. Again, nothing too crazy. Just going to go ahead and lower the piano, it's a little bit loud. And now I'm going to add in another sound, which will be a synth arp, or an arpeggiated synth. I'm going to go ahead and create a new software instrument track, and I am going to put a plugin that I usually like to use, which is called Spire by Reveal Sound. This is the plugin. Thankfully, before the tutorial, I actually made a preset for myself, so I'm just going to go ahead and menu, and I'm going to load in that ARP that I created. So here's the ARP. So let's go ahead and record that in our song. All right, so that has been recorded. Let's go ahead and quantize that and lower the volume. All right, so that sounds good. Let's go ahead and add in another pad that is going to work with our ARP and our cello. I'm going to create another software instrument track, hit create, and I'm going to bring in a plugin that I also like to use by Tone 2 called Gladiator. You also get to see what kind of plugins I use. The next thing I'm going to do is select a pad, and thankfully I already selected one that I like to use, which is called, if I remember correctly, let me try and find it. Here it is, disorganized. I'm going to close that, and it sounds something like this. So that's going to work with our pad and with our cello and our ARP. So let's go ahead and record that in. We recorded the same chord progression that we had throughout the song, just in a different octave, and we're going to start layering our sound together here in our mixing stage. For now, we are going to leave it like this though. Alright, so now we are getting somewhere. I'm going to go ahead and just bring another instance of the electro bump. Again, every sound I like to create a new track. In Logic Pro, you can have so many tracks, so it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to create a hit here. I hit record, and I'll hit that at the 1. I'm going to quantize that. If it doesn't sound perfect at the moment, don't worry, we are going to fix everything in the mixing stage. And then what I'm going to do here is just going to create a quick build up between my verse and my pre-chorus. So I'm going to go to Software Instrument Track, hit create, and you're going to see how to create a nice kind of sound that kind of builds from one thing to another. I'm going to bring in the ESP synth. And we're going to go ahead and just bring everything down but our noise generator. We're going to bring that all the way up. It's going to play and see where we're at here. So I'm going to want the attack to be a little bit slow to create a nice build up. My decay can stay like that, but my sustain I want up. And the release, I want it slightly slow release. Slow release, so the sound will slowly decay out. So it's going to be something like that. I don't need so much overdrive. I'll add some chorus in. Raise the decay a little bit, sustain. So that released too quickly. We're just going to raise the release a little bit more. That's a little bit better. All right, so let's go ahead and record that in. All right, so that's my little build up over there. Let's hear how that sounds. So I'll drop the volume on that. And I'm just going to create a volume automation as well, just to create a nice little build up. Again, most of this will be done in our mixing stage. Alright, so now we just completed our pre-chorus. The next video we are going to talk about our chorus, which is the fun part that I love to do. I love to make my choruses big. So I'm going to go ahead and play and take a listen to what we have so far. Alright, so that's what we have right there for part 6 of our tutorial of how to make a track in Logic Pro. That was our pre-chorus. Tune in to our next video to learn or to see what we'll do with our chorus.